Hi, my name's Wes Larson. I'm a bear biologist. I have worked with 4 of the world's 8 bear species: American black bears, polar bears, grizzly bears or brown bears, and sloth bears. Today we're going to be talking about the 8 species of bears and their relationship and their danger to humans. And if you want more information, you can check out my article on Backpacker. I think lists like this are really fun. They can be useful too, though, because you may be going to one of these places where specific species lives, and maybe you didn't know that it was a potential threat. And it's just really important that you're prepared when you go into any kind of bear country. These are not animals that like to interact with people. They almost always avoid us, but every once in a while things do happen. And it's really important that you're prepared for those kind of encounters so that you can get out safely and the bear can get out safely. I think when talking about the general danger of the different bear species, there's something really important to keep in mind, and that danger doesn't necessarily equate to statistics. Some of these bears might be responsible for more incidents with people, but it's because there's just a lot more of that bear species, or they live around a lot more people. So I think when you're talking about danger, you have to look at a lot of different factors. And for me, the main one is the general behavior of the bear, how defensive they are, and in some cases, even how aggressive they are. I put the spectacled or the Andean bear at number 8. The reason I picked that bear for number 8 is they really don't have a history at all of attacking people. There are a few anecdotal stories of people being injured by this bear, but it was almost always the bear was being heavily harassed, hunted, chased with dogs, some really extenuating circumstance that led to it finally giving in and attacking a person. So as far as I know, in the scientific literature, there are no records of attacks from this particular bear species, and that's why they are number 8. These are the sweethearts of the bear family. They mostly eat vegetation. You'll find them in the Paramo or the cloud forests of northwestern South America. You're lucky if you see one, but enjoy from a distance just like all the other bears. For number 7, I picked the giant panda, and I think a lot of people might be surprised that this bear wasn't at number 8. They are bamboo eaters. They really don't want anything to do with us. The reason I put it at 7 is there's actually a handful of encounters with this bear in captivity that have turned somewhat violent. And there's a couple stories of them attacking people in the wild too. There's a number of bites, both on handlers, visitors to zoos, and I think it's because they have this reputation of being so cuddly and docile that people get way too close to them in captivity. So just like any of the bear species, they can be potentially dangerous. This is a big animal with sharp teeth and sharp claws, so you need to give it the right amount of respect. I think the giant panda, we could definitely say, is the cutest and the most lovable of all the bears, but they're still a bear that we need to keep the proper amount of separation from because they do sometimes get grumpy. Bear number 6 is the American black bear. And I think, again, people might be surprised it's number 6. They might have thought it would be higher. This is one of the larger bear species out there, but there are 800,000 of this bear, probably more than that, in North America. That's more than double the number of all the other bear species put together. There's so many of them and we see so few incidents. Really shows just how shy this bear is. They almost always pick flight over fight, and that's why I put them at number 6. We do hear some stories about this bear, and that's because there are so many and a lot of people recreate in black bear habitat. But I think that's more of just, again, a condition of having a lot of people around a lot of bears. There's bound to be some incidents, but it's much less than we would see with some of our more aggressive or defensive bears. If you encounter a black bear, enjoy the encounter. Get out of the bear's path if it's walking toward you. The only time you really need to worry about black bears is if they're following you. If it seems like a black bear is maybe stalking you, then you have to convince that bear that you're not worth the trouble. Bear number 5 was actually my biggest surprise in this list. I was going to put sun bears at 6 or 7, and then I dug into the literature a little bit, and I learned that they can actually be quite defensive or aggressive bears. There's a part of northeastern India where a study was done, and they found a number of bear attacks from sloth bears during that study, and even a decent number of fatalities from this bear. The reason that was so surprising is they're the smallest bear, they're mostly arboreal, so they spend most of their time in trees, and they really generally just eat honey, fruit, and insects, so they're not really looking for food that puts them in a lot of conflict with people. And for me, the fact that there are that number of attacks and even some fatalities goes to show that this is a bear that has a bit of an attitude, that they can be pretty defensive when they run into someone out in the jungle, and that's why they earn spot number 5. If you happen to find yourself in sun bear territory and you see one, first of all, you're very lucky. So take some photos, enjoy that encounter, let that bear know that you're there long before you're too close to it. If you make some noise and the bear knows that you're around, you're not going to surprise it, and there's very little chance that you're going to have a negative encounter. So in the 4th spot, I put polar bears. And I think polar bears have this negative reputation of being one of the only animals that hunts human beings. I hear that all the time as a person that worked closely with polar bears, and that's simply not true. They do not see us as a source of food. We don't have the kind of fat content that they need to survive. So when they do actually eat people, it's almost always a younger bear that hasn't really figured out that we're not food yet. Now, the reason they're at number 4 is because they are the only bear on this list that is purely carnivorous. So when they do decide to attack people, it is almost always motivated by predation. And if you don't stop that bear somehow, it is going to eat you. And that is not typical for most of these bears that we're talking about. And that's why they are in the 4th spot, because attacks are incredibly rare, but when they do happen, they tend to be pretty devastating. One phrase I absolutely do not like is, if it's brown, lay down. If it's black, fight back. If it's white, good night. Really, the only one in there that is good advice is if it's black, fight back. If you're attacked by a black bear, you do need to fight back. The other 2 bears, that's not representative of what you should do with them. With a polar bear, there are definitely ways out of that situation. Bear spray is a great one. Flares work great on them. There's a lot of things that work to deter these bears. So you don't have to just see a polar bear as like the ultimate, there's nothing I can do, I'm totally screwed kind of animal. If you're camping, you need to have an electric fence. You should have bear watchers, bear guards. Always have someone looking out for polar bears. They're curious animals. They like to check out campsites, and that can kind of flip that switch for them where they move on to predation. So preparedness is the key with this animal, making sure you have deterrence, and then just making sure that they're not invited into your campsite. So our 3rd most dangerous bear, I picked the brown bear. This is the bear in the US we call grizzly bears. It's the same bear in coastal Alaska that we have here in Montana, or that you'll find over in Russia or in the Gobi Desert. Same species, but there are some different subspecies of this bear. The reason it's number 3 is this is a bear that is quite defensive. If you surprise a brown bear, especially in close proximity, and especially if they have cubs or they're guarding a carcass, they can be incredibly dangerous animals. Outside of that, they want to get away from us. And the times that they do attack people are when we don't give them the chance to run away. So say you round a corner, there's a bear there with her cubs. She didn't hear you coming, so she decides to fight instead of flight. The traits and characteristics that make brown bears so dangerous is their size. This is our 2nd biggest bear after polar bears. So when they do decide to attack a person, those attacks can be quite violent and devastating. They dole out the same kind of punishment they would dole out to another bear, and another bear can take it and we can't. If you are ever going to be in brown bear or grizzly bear habitat, you absolutely need to have a deterrent with you. And for me, that deterrent is bear spray. I keep it in the same place whenever I go out, and it works great on these animals. And the best part of that is you get to leave the situation and the bear also gets to leave that situation. Both parties survive. At number 2, I put the Asiatic black bear. Now, had you asked me a year ago what number 2 was, it might not have been this bear. But Japan had an absolutely insane year for attacks from Asiatic black bears. And I talked to an Asiatic black bear expert. It's probably just a case of people and animals living in the same areas and those animals becoming overly habituated to people. That same thing is happening with American black bears in the US, but they are not a very defensive or aggressive bear, and Asiatic black bears are. So like in Tahoe, for example, every single day people see bears and bump into bears, the bear runs off. But if that same interaction is happening on the island of Honshu in Japan, it's a very different outcome often, where the bear decides to kind of plant its feet and defend its area rather than run off. And those attacks can be pretty violent. They don't feed on people. They don't see us as a source of food, but they are incredibly defensive bears. And it was quite shocking to see just how many people were injured by this animal just in Japan last year. Just to put this in context for you, just last year in Japan, Asiatic black bears attacked over 230 people, and they killed 13 of those victims. That's just last year, and just in one very small section of their entire range. This is an animal you can find throughout Asia. In comparison, we have more than probably triple the number of American black bears in North America, and they kill on average about one person per year, or maybe it's like every year and a half. So that is a vast difference, and it really goes to show that Asiatic black bears are a much more defensive, much grumpier bear than their North American cousins. This is a bear that you need to treat very similarly to how you would treat a grizzly bear. They do sell bear spray in a lot of this bear's range, so buy a can, have it, know how to use it, and don't be afraid to use it if you encounter a bear. And finally, we are to our number one most dangerous bear in the world, the sloth bear. This is one of the 4 bear species I've worked with. When they're kept in captivity, they can be just the most precious little sweethearts of bears. But in the wild, they can be incredibly defensive. And we think it may be because they've evolved alongside these big feline predators like Bengal tigers. And to deter a tiger, which potentially wants to eat a sloth bear, these tigers are much bigger than this bear, they have to have this really quick, explosive kind of attack. And for the tiger, it's kind of like, hey, this is too much. A tiger can't really afford any big injuries. And it's kind of enough to deter them. And they tend to use the same tactic on people. And for us, that attack can be much more devastating. That's just one of the many theories as to why this bear acts the way it does. But they attack hundreds of people on average every year in India. I know we had a crazy year for Asiatic black bears last year, but this is on average, year to year, we see sloth bears attacking this many people. Part of that is population density in India is so high. There's so much encroachment on sloth bear habitat. But even with that in mind, this is a very defensive bear. And I do think that's just part of their evolution. It's part of what makes them so special. So if you are in India, if you're traveling in India, you happen to come across a sloth bear, this is actually a bear that has a little bit different safety messaging than some of our other species. One of the main differences is that if this bear is coming at you, sometimes laying down and playing dead can work pretty well with this bear. And the reason for that is almost always they're just trying to neutralize what they think is a threat, and they don't really feed on any of the people that they attack. Every once in a while that changes, but almost always they don't feed. Becoming less of a threat is really what you want to do with this bear. If you see it in the wild, back away slowly, make sure that you keep plenty of distance between you and the bear, get to a safe spot. If it does actually come at you, again, bear spray works great on them, but if you don't have it and the bear is actually mauling you, lay down, play dead, and hope it stops. So that's my full list. I love all 8 bear species. These are not animals that want to attack people. The responsibility is on us humans to not create a circumstance that compels the bear to attack you. Almost all of these incidents involve a bear that has just been pushed to a place where it feels like it has to pick fight over flight. When we're talking about attacks, these are by far the outliers in most bear encounters. Most people, when you see a bear in the wild, you just get to enjoy that experience. You get to take some photos. You get to see one of the most beautiful, charismatic animals in its wild habitat, which is a powerful, life-changing experience. So enjoy it, take some photos, send them my way.